In this week's episode, I'm going to be talking about a health scare that I had recently. And when I say recently, I mean last night, even to the fact that I still have my bracelet on from the emergency room. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about that next. And if you're new here, welcome to the Almighty's channel. So a little bit about me. Up to this point, I've had no major health conditions. So why? Well, I just wanted to be authentic, and I wanted to be able to share my experiences that may help others in our community get through situations in life that are unforeseen. So how did all this come to be? Well, for the past few weeks, I've been noticing a little heaviness in my chest, or kind of like I don't know if it was arrhythmia or it was like an off beat in my heart, but what I would call like a heavy heartbeat. And then last night at around 5 or 6, I started to feel lightheaded. And so I did like any normal person does. I go on the internet and I look up and see what are some of the symptoms or what are the cause of lightheadedness. And one of the things was dehydration. I am infamous for not drinking enough water, and that is a shortcoming that I need to overcome. So I sat down, took a break, drank some water. I even drank a bottle of water, and then I drank a sports drink to try to get some electrolytes into my system. So I texted my wife and asked her would she come to the shop so that even if it was something a little more severe, that she could be here to call 911 if I did in fact pass out, or drive me to the ER at the least. Now, after arriving, she numerous times asked me what I wanted to do, and I just wanted to see if this feeling wasn't going to pass and I wasn't going to gain some kind of normalcy. And through debating and actually I sat in this very chair and leaned back, and just tried to hope and pray that this was going to pass, because the financial burden of an emergency room visit just wasn't something that I wanted to put us into. But at the end of the day, if it was necessary, I was going to do what we had to do to just make sure that I was all right. So the next step was I decided, let's go ahead and go. I took care of a couple of things here at the shop, and that's just the way I'm built, was that I had a couple of things. I didn't know what was going on, and I was afraid that if this was something very serious and I had to be admitted, I needed to kind of get David and Adam better situated here at the shop so that if I couldn't return, that they would have what they needed to be able to continue the shop in my absence. So we went to the emergency room. I got signed in. They gave me an EKG. They go through a process, and some of you may not be medical professionals. It's called triage, and I found out what that is. That's kind of the method that they use to be able to determine the seriousness of each patient's condition. And that's how they kind of base who gets seen first and who can wait. So y'all try to be a little more understanding at the ER. I wasn't feeling really good, but I understood that the possibilities of my condition wasn't immediately life-threatening, so I had to sit and wait. So I went in triage. I got my EKG. Then they brought me back in and I got my pulse. I answered some questions. They took my blood pressure, went back into the waiting room. Then they called me back again for labs, and I had to have blood drawn. And so at that point, I was assured that I was not having a heart attack, which was ultimately my first concern. That brought me great relief, both me and my wife. And so the next step is what else is going on? The guy that took labs said that it could be a partial blockage and that I might need a stent. So the time came for them to call me back to go back to an exam room. They took more blood for labs. They hooked me up to a monitor and inserted an IV. And at that point, it kind of had me worried that I might be there for a little while. Enter in my ER doctor. The only thing he could find was an extra little electrical impulse on my EKG. But other than that, everything else looked normal. So the only other things my doctor said that could have been a cause of this condition is possible dehydration and the fact that I did drink a half of an energy shot. So what are my next steps? Well, I do have to have a follow-up visit to my cardiologist. I've got to drink more water. I've got to be better hydrated. I need to cut down on my caffeine consumption as well as my eating habits. There are things I'm sure all of us could do to have a better wellness of life from here and in the future. One last thing I want to say before I finish up with this video to the ER staff at the Lexington Medical Center. They were very attentive. They were very willing to answer any question that I have. And for those of you that might not know me, I like to ask a lot of questions, especially when it comes to the medical field. So thumbs up. I hope you found this video helpful. Please like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll be alerted whenever we upload new content. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.